If you clicked on this video because you want to learn how to get rid of the fear of losing in trading, I'm here to tell you that you can't. In fact, if you are trying to do so, you are basically attempting to rewrite millions of years of biological programming. If the fear of losing money is the problem, then all of the most successful traders would be complete robots. However, I want to remind you that they are in fact human. The same emotions that you feel, the same fears of losing money that you feel, they also, to some degree, feel as well. It's just that they know the triggers that result in them acting on their impulses, and what they do is set up systems so that they don't or aren't likely to give in to those same impulses that you feel. Therefore, the goal is learning how to trade and follow your plan alongside your emotions and not simply just trying to get rid of those emotions themselves. And let's be real, we are biologically programmed to experience the feelings of loss a lot more than the feelings of pleasure from when we gain something. It's for this very reason that I made it my sole objective over the past couple years to not get rid of my fear of losing, but rather to frame what is happening to me in a perspective of focusing on what am I gaining. The goal of this video is for me to share with you a few of the mental frameworks, or basically the way how I'm able to perceive what is happening to me. I want to provide you those same mental frameworks that can help you not necessarily get rid of your fear of losing, but rather to act and do the right thing alongside your immediate human emotions. Little side note, I feel as though making this video is actually really fitting because today I walked away negative 2R, meaning that both trades ended up as losers. And I'll actually just show it to you right now, just for some proof. But as you can see, it's currently March 13th, and it says only $713, but I have 9 funded accounts. So if you multiply 9 times 713, I basically lost $6,400. So now could not be a better time for me to not only teach you how to deal with losses, but also reinforce those very same lessons in myself. So step number 0. Make sure that you're not trading with an amount of money that you cannot afford to lose. And I say that because if you are trading from the mindset of this short-term obsession over what needs to happen in order for you to, say, for example, put food on the table, you just aren't in the right mindset to be trading, because trading is just a matter of taking the right trades over the course of months, if not years, so that your technical edge actually has time to work out and play out. So if you don't have that availability to take trades, if you don't have the availability to risk the capital needed and risk that capital from a frame of mind knowing that you can afford losing it, then that is your very first step. So that's even before backtesting. That's just plain and simple. Do not risk more than you can afford to lose. The first and most important thing is that you have to backtest your edge. Trading is a game of statistics, and we cannot control the outcome of the very next trade. In fact, what you're doing in trading is you're relying on a sample size of hundreds, if not thousands, of trades that follow those criteria that you set for yourself, with the expectation that so long as you take those trades in the future, you are going to be profitable. And if you don't have a big sample size of trades, there's no way for you to really look at the losses that you're taking in the present as just simply a part of the edge. For me, myself, before I backtested any edge, coincidentally, I always ended up switching, meaning that as soon as I'd go on a losing streak, no matter how profitable the edge was beforehand, once I went on that losing streak, I was very quick to change because I thought that something was just wrong with my edge. It turns out that had I backtested that edge, I would have had the confidence knowing that the losses that I'm taking in the present are simply just a part of the plan. So first things first, before you even watch the rest of this video, I want to make sure that your edge has actually been backtested. Now, what edge you're trading with, I don't know, and nor does it actually concern me. Just make sure that it's actually profitable and has a statistical edge over the markets. Me explaining to you all these different mental frameworks and basically you becoming a Zen-like and disciplined person is never going to amount to the amount of actual confidence that you have in your strategy if you just backtest first. So do that before you go on with the rest of this video. Now I'm going to present you 4 different mental frameworks which I've been able to develop myself or have maybe had some influence from other people, which those same 4 mental frameworks have helped me deal with those feelings of fear when the losses are simply inevitable in my day-to-day trading itself. Now, mental framework number 1, you want to view everything as predetermined. So what do I mean by that? I mean that the outcome of the next trade is not within your control, but the outcome of the next few thousand trades, or as a matter of fact, the profitability of the next 1,000 trades, to some degree is within your control because it's up to you to take those trades that align with your technical edge. So you want to kind of view something as predetermined. Now, what I mean by that is, let's say that you know the shape of my hand. If I were to cover my hand and I were to simply just reveal my hand, that is simply how you want to view the outcome of your trades. So let's say there's like win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. You want to feel as though in real time you are uncovering the outcome of those trades. And what that does is it mentally in your head, you perceive the outcome as just simply predetermined. And there isn't anything that you can do about it, which is literally true. You cannot control the outcome of your next couple of trades. So therefore, as long as you view it as predetermined, there's a sense of mental peace, knowing that no matter how much you stress over the outcome of the next trade, there is simply nothing that you can do about it. And the only thing that you can do is focus your time and your attention on the variables that are within your control. So what are the variables within your control? First things first, risking an amount of capital that you can actually lose and which is in accordance to your risk management protocols. You choose how many contracts you enter and you choose where you place your profit target and your stop loss. Another thing that you can control is how well are you executing that trade. Are you sizing more than you should have? Are you holding on to the trade longer than you should have even when the trade has already hit your stop loss? How you execute your trade is another variable that is within your control. And those are just 2 examples. But you cannot focus on those 2 examples if your mind is just so fixated on whether or not the next trade is going to be a loss, the current trade is going to be a loss, or just simply profits and losses over the next month, 2, or even 3 months. You want to look at those results as predetermined, and you're simply uncovering them as you go on. And as a quick summary, again, you want to think of your P&L results, or simply just short-term outcomes that you cannot control. You want to think of those as predetermined, where the outcome is already happened, and it's already like on a piece of paper, but it's just your job to uncover that paper in your day-to-day basis. And what this does, it is what this does is it keeps your focus off of the short-term P&L, and so you can instead focus your attention on the variables that you can actually control in the present moment. As for mental framework number 2, you want to think of each loss as instead a gain. So in the most obvious monetary situation, if I spend $5 today and I immediately get back $10 worth of value, then it's easy for me to interpret the fact that I in fact gained something. However, in trading, it's a bit different, where if I spend $1,000 to find out if this specific trade works, I might actually lose that $1,000. So you instead have to think about what are you gaining from investing or risking that $1,000 in the first place. Because if you just simply fixate on the fact that you lost that $1,000, it's a lot harder to actually move on and do the right thing come time to take the next trade. So you have to look at everything as a gain. And one thing that I feel as though I gain when I take a loss is discipline. As long as I took a trade which met all of my criteria for my technical edge, I basically gained discipline by proving to myself that I can take trades which align with my profitable edge. And the cool thing is that even if I technically didn't take a trade that aligned with my technical edge and I instead took it out of impulse, I still was able to learn a lesson that I can use later on in that day to actually backtrack and find out what went wrong in my mental edge. And that basically allows me to prevent it from happening the next time it comes around. So if you think about it, there is literally no way to lose. And that is such a powerful mental framework because you're not attempting to overwrite your fear of losing. You're just simply looking at it from an opportunistic standpoint. And by doing so, you not only keep that loss or that mistake separate from your identity, but 2, you're actually able to take away something valuable from the experience so that you can further continue growing in a profitable direction. And wrapping up mental framework number 2, treat and view everything as a lesson. If you're able to treat it as a lesson, then you're a lot less likely to identify with that loss, and 2, you can actually grow and take proper action so that you can do the right thing the next time. For mental framework number 3, you want to visualize and play out how the trade is going to take place in the future. And more often than not, you need to visualize it as a loss, because I'm sure that it's easy to just think about how this trade is going to end up a winner, how much money you're going to make, but it's a bit challenging to enter a trade and visualize the price immediately hitting your stop loss. So if you took into account the things that I talked about earlier, where you're only risking an amount of capital which you can actually afford to lose, and 2, you're actually trading with a technical edge which has a statistical advantage over the market, then you just want to play out what exactly is going to happen in my life if the trade ends up as a loss. And more often than not, nothing is going to change. And by playing it out, you'll realize that this pressure of it needing to be a win, of that trade needing to be profitable, is just going to reduce because there's just no sense of real urgency, which there shouldn't be, but there's no real sense of urgency for the outcome of that specific individual trade. So if I were to take a loss today, nothing is going to really happen. My account's not going to be blown because I'm not done with my money. I'm not risking I'm not full porting my entire account. And 2, It's not like it's going to invalidate my edge, because I've quite literally taken a bunch of losses on my back testing. So I have proof that my edge is still profitable. My edge is still profitable even alongside the losses. And three, I think to myself how it doesn't mean that I can't follow my plan, because if losses are a part of the plan and I was still able to follow my plan, then how does the loss that I'm taking right now even really affect me? And the short answer is that it won't. So just keep that at the forefront of your mind when you start to obsess over feelings as though the trade needs to be a winner. So summarizing mental framework number 3, you want to visualize the actual outcome of each trade. And so long as you manage your risk, and so long as you're trading with a profitable edge, you'll realize that no matter what happens, you are going to be okay. And upon coming to that realization, then you can actually focus your time and attention on the variables that you actually can control. So I know I said that I was going to state 4 different mental frameworks, but I realized that the fourth one is basically it's just a byproduct of the 3 mental frameworks that I already mentioned. So the fourth one that I was supposed to talk about is just reminding to yourself that the more you obsess over something that you cannot control, the less attention that you actually have on what you can control. And again, this isn't really a mental framework, but it's just to clarify the fact that I'm not going to actually put down number 4, even though I already said that I was going to have 4 different mental frameworks. So knowing what you know now, I want to leave you with how this can actually apply. I wanted to leave you with actionable tips that you can apply on the day-to-day basis. So I'll give you 2 scenarios. 1, when you're actually in the middle of a trade, and 2, when you're simply just living life and the reminder that you lost money just so happens to pop up into your head. And the process that we'll be going through I've actually already talked about in my overtrading guide. But this is because it's the same thing, like you're still dealing with psychological problems. Not psychological problems, but you're dealing with those immediate emotions and impulses. The process for how you manage those emotions is going to be the same. So, let's say that you're in a trade, and after putting in your stop loss and your profit target, you start to obsess over the outcome. You might start to feel some sort of need for this specific trade. It has to be a winner. What if you're literally like one trade away from hitting your P&L goal for the week? Or what if you're one trade away from getting a payout on those funded accounts? There's obviously going to be some sense of extra pressure for the outcome to be a winner. And it's in this exact moment that when you become aware of these emotions and these thoughts, you need to implement a 2-step process. And step number 1 is you need to remind yourself of one of the mental frameworks that I listed above. It actually doesn't have to be one of those 3. If you look at all 3 of those mental frameworks, they're simply just ways to challenge the immediate emotions and look at it from a more logical perspective. So you can use any of the 3 mental frameworks, or you can even resort to some sort of other mental framework that you've learned or that you've developed yourself. And after reminding yourself that, remember, you cannot destroy energy, nor can you create it. You can only transfer it. I might have butchered that quote, but I think you know what I mean. So with all that pent-up energy from your emotions, you need to transfer it towards something else. So once you remind yourself of the mental framework, which is essentially the challenging thought, then you need to transfer your energy towards what you should be doing in the moment. So for me, every time that I obsess over the outcome of a trade, I have quite literally ingrained it in myself to, after providing myself, or after doing the mental framework, then I remind myself that my goal right now is that if price drops, or if price hits my stop loss, I am going to exit with a negative 1R, meaning that I lost the amount that I was willing to risk. And if price hits my profit target, then I'm going to walk away with, for example's sake, a plus 3R, meaning that I made 3 times as much as I risked. So those outcomes are a fact. Like if price hits my stop loss, I am going to lose 1R. And if price hits my profit target, I'm going to lose 3R. But what I do not obsess about is the specific outcome itself. So essentially, I'm reminding myself of what is within my control at that present moment. So, second scenario is you might be out with a family member, and this could be like a Friday evening. So let's say that you traded Friday, you lost money for the day, and you're out at night, and you're spending time with the family member. I don't know about you, but every once in a while, I'm going to have that thought that goes something along the lines of, damn, I really just lost X amount of money today or this week or whatever. And you want to go back to the same two-step process. So think of it as an opportunity to just continue reinforcing these mental frameworks. And the more that you enforce those mental frameworks, the more second nature it is for you to basically counter those immediate emotions. You get good at not necessarily holding in your emotions, because remember, emotions is essentially energy, and at some point, those emotions are going to come out. So you have to be really good at transferring that energy towards an alternative mindset. So as soon as I perceive thoughts of a loss that happened earlier in the day, I think of it as just a reminder to focus on the present moment. So I've quite literally gotten really good at becoming present, not because I don't deal with the same thoughts that you do, but because I've trained myself to take those thoughts and just use it as opportunities to remind myself of what I should be doing. So going back to the second scenario, if I'm out with friends or I'm out with family and the feeling of loss comes, I'm going to, one, provide myself a challenging thought so that I don't continue to feed into that thought. And two, I'm just going to remind myself that I risked an amount that I could have lost, and that's okay because I took trades which aligned with my technical edge. And my only goal right now is to just be present with the people that I'm spending time with. So those scenarios are just little quick examples of how you're actually going to use this framework or those frameworks and basically provide yourself with a process for how you can basically just do the right thing at the right time. Because let's be real, after the weekend passes, after Saturday, Sunday passes, eventually the right thing to do is just to show up for the markets, and the right thing to do if you take a trade is to exit at your profit target or stop loss. So your main focus is just always going to be doing the right thing at the right time. Lastly, I wanted to give you some sort of expectations for what your progress is going to look like. Now, once you implement this, you're not all of a sudden just going to get rid of those same emotions, because remember, the goal isn't to get rid of your instincts, but rather to just reframe them instead. So your progress isn't going to be instant, and just note that it's going to be very uncomfortable. So if you are the type of person to, when you feel those same feelings of taking a loss, if you're the type to just go straight into your impulses and just act on your emotions, then yeah, you're not going to all of a sudden just become super disciplined the next day. It's going to take time, and you need more repetitions with this. So basically, you want to build evidence that no matter what happens, whether you take a win or whether you take a loss, nothing in your life is going to drastically change. So with that in mind, then you can start to implement these steps. And quite frankly, you might only start implementing these mental frameworks or be conscious of these mental frameworks once you act out those impulses. And the goal is that the two-step process for how you go about managing your emotions, your goal is to just move it forward. So you're basically just preventing the damage from getting worse, or for those who are more advanced in their journey, you're just preventing the damage. You're preventing the damage from happening, period. So understand that this is going to take time, and you need to first, again, build the evidence that this actually works. So let's say if most of the time you just go straight into your most impulsive decisions after fearing a loss, like for those who take a loss and they're like, oh my God, I can't lose money today. I have to make money. And then you end up over trading, or you end up sizing in more than you should have, both of which I've done. Then implementing this two-step process, you might be able to, maybe you don't even stop the emotions, but you're just aware of them. And the second time this comes around, you might start to be aware of them even sooner, and then sooner, and then sooner. And that essentially wraps up my guide of how I personally deal with my honestly human fears of losing. And I hope that by providing these mental frameworks or just alternative perspectives for how you're able to perceive what every trader experiences, taking losses, I hope that you're just a lot better able to stick to your plan, stick to your edge, and honestly trade long enough so that your profitable edge actually has time to play out. And for those of you still watching, I just wanted to say thank you for giving me your time and attention. I hope that you've been able to come out of this video learning something new, learning something that you can apply starting today, which can help you become a better trader. Hope everyone has a good rest of their day.